you can transfer energy from one thing to another. So the whole idea with renunciation is really making conscious, wise choices of where we're investing our energy, where are we hemorrhaging our energy, letting go of those things, accumulating energy, and then concentrating it to very specific areas of the mind so that we can awaken higher centers of consciousness.
Today's interview is with Dandapani, a man who has dedicated his life to the monastery for over 10 years, and he now uses those lessons to help entrepreneurs and athletes become more successful and define a focus and a goal. Today's interview is sponsored by Mulliganbrothers.com, where you can now purchase the Inspire Change t-shirts. Purchasing a t-shirt helps support projects like this and future projects. Thank you very much. Let's dive into the interview.
Just introduce yourself for people who don't know you. Just introduce yourself and what you do.
So my name is Dandapani. I live in Costa Rica in a town called Nosara by the beach, where my wife, daughter, and I are building a spiritual sanctuary, a retreat center, and a botanical garden. I am a Hindu priest, former Hindu monk of 10 years. I'm an entrepreneur as well, and I work with entrepreneurs, athletes, other very successful individuals, helping them understand how the mind works and leverage the mind so they can be good at what they do. And I also share tools with people who are interested in creating change in their lives, practical tools that they can bring into their daily life, create a consistent practice, a sustainable practice to create sustainable change. And that's really the key, is how do we sustain change? And that's what I help people try and focus on.
I love it, and there's so much to unpack there. One thing that I really want to cover as well in this conversation is you give people tools, not motivation. So I think you've spoke about being confused as a motivational speaker, whereas you're giving people tools. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's the thing. People see my videos, or they see me doing a keynote and things like that, and they go like, "Oh, he's a motivational speaker, inspirational speaker," and I don't do motivation. I don't get on stage and go rah 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 and get everybody excited. I feel that doesn't last. You get inspired, you go home, you want to do everything the speaker told you, and you do it for about 4 or 5 days, and then all the emotion and inspiration wears away, and you default back to who you are. So it's almost like, you're just getting high for a few days of whatever you heard, and then you default back, and then you can't change. So I really don't believe in inspiring people or motivating people in that sense. I rather help people define the goal, help them, because I think that's the first place to start, is really defining the goal, then outline the steps to that goal, and then finally, step 3, sharing with them the tools that they need to stay on the path to get to the goal. I was actually in London a couple of years ago, and I held an event. A gentleman at the event asked me, he said to me, Dandapani, I do meditation in the morning and I do some breath work. I hear you talking about affirmations. Should I incorporate that into my morning routine? I asked him, well, where do you want to go? I said, if I want to build a house made out of concrete, then I'll bring brick and cement and sand and a cement mixture and shovel and trowel and whatever it is. But if I'm building a wood house, then I probably don't need cement. I might just need, planks, nails, handsaw, right? So people always look at the tools as opposed to defining the destination, and then help the destination then define what you need to get there, if that makes sense.
I love it. So it sounds like as well, just going back to the start, is you've traveled around the world quite a lot. You've moved from space to space. Where were you born? What was that like?
I was born in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur, in the capital. I think I had a great childhood. It wasn't anything special to write home about. I just grew up, went to school, played with my neighbors. That's about it. And then when I was a teenager, my family migrated to, I would say the great thing about growing up in Malaysia was such a multicultural society. So I grew up with, I'm Sri Lankan of origin, and I grew up with, Indians and Sri Lankans and Chinese and Sikhs and Malay. So it's really great having that multicultural exposure. And then when I was a teenager, we migrated to Australia, and I did a bit of high school there, university. And then when I graduated from university, I moved to Hawaii, where I lived as a monk for 10 years.
So the step between university, so what was your degree in at university?
Electrical engineering.
So electrical engineering. So what was the point where you went, this is it, I'm gonna make a big change?
Um, Look, I wanted to be a monk since I was about 4 or 5 years old. And for me at that point was really trying to find a teacher that could guide me. And I met many monks along the way. As a kid, my parents would take me to go see, because I'm a Hindu, and whenever a Hindu monk or Swami guru would come to town, we, go see him and listen to what he had to say or she had to say. And though they all had wonderful things to say, I just never resonated with any of them. I felt a lot of them inspired and motivated, but didn't have practical tools. So it wasn't until, after I graduated from high school, I was still looking to find a monastery I could join, and I didn't find one that really resonated with me. And I just didn't want to join any monastery and give up my whole life. I wanted to find the best. And then it wasn't until I met my guru when I was about 21 years old that I realized he was the right teacher for me. The setup, the way he taught, the way he trained his monks, his whole setup that he had was perfect for me. It doesn't mean it's perfect for everyone else. It just worked for me. So I wanted to quit my degree halfway through and join this monastery, but he made me finish my degree. And as soon as I knew I passed my last exam, I jumped on a plane and went to Hawaii.
So this is the bit that really I'd love to hear an insight into is, so when you join the monastery, you strip yourself of all your belongings and your friends and family, and what's that process like, especially as a 21-year-old, so a young man, all his possessions, his friendship groups, what was that process like for you?
I was about nearly 24, around 24 when I actually joined the monastery, and it was difficult, and I knew this was where I was going to go. I knew what the requirements were because I got to know my guru. And so while I was in university, it began the process of just everything. I just knew that how the monastery was structured. There's 3 meals a day. There was no snacking in between. It's not like you go on the internet and checking the scores and the print, seeing how your team's doing. None of that stuff. So as I approached the end of my university career and knowing that I would be going to the monastery, I just started giving up things. I would eat a Mars bar and go, okay, this would probably be the last Mars bar I ever eat in my life. So I'd enjoy it. And then I had one again, I'd be okay. It wasn't the end of the world. I'd get a smoothie or a cup of tea or anything else and know that, okay, I may never have this again, and that's okay. So I got to now things one thing at a time as I went through the last few years of my life in the world. So I think what people don't realize is that we build attachments to so many things in our life, simple things. How many times a day does someone open the refrigerator to look inside to see what's there to snack on? Pick up their phone, scroll through something, or turn on the TV. We have all these things, all of that stripped away from me. And you just don't realize how much of those things are part of your life until you're put in a position where you don't have access to them.
So this is the thing for me is, what's the practical application for that? Or what's the reason for stripping everything back?
So that's the thing where a lot of people don't understand, right? Most people think that when you're on the spiritual path, because they see monks renouncing material possessions and all that stuff, and they go like, oh, material possessions are bad. And that's kind of a common theme or understanding on the spiritual path, that if I'm spiritual, I shouldn't be wealthy. Money is the root of all evil. I shouldn't have material possessions. That's not really the reason, though, at least from the Hindu perspective, right? And the Hindu perspective of viewing it, that every material possession we have an energetic connection to it. So I have my laptop, I have a little energetic connection with that. I have my iPhone, I have a little energetic connection with that. So if I have 1,000 things, I have 1,000 pieces of energetic connection to each of those items, which means energy is flowing out of me into those 1,000 things. Now, if I reduce those 1,000 things to 100 things, now I have less energy flowing out of me. Now, if I reduce it to 10 things, now I have less energy flowing out to me, which means I have a lot more energy. At the end of the day, what the goal was the monastic life and understanding renunciation. It's not saying that material things or relationships with people are bad. All it was focused on was the conservation of energy. The idea was to conserve and accumulate as much energy as possible, take that accumulated energy, focus that energy into specific areas of the mind to awaken higher states of consciousness. So imagine my mind as having 1,000,000 light bulbs. If I stick a AAA battery in my spine, I might light up one of those light bulbs. If I stick a 9-volt battery in my spine, I might light up 2 or 3 of those light bulbs. But imagine if I plugged my spine into the power station that powered New York City. I could light up all these areas in my mind. So in order to light up those areas of the mind, you need sufficient amount of energy to channel it into those areas of the mind. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, right? But you can transfer energy from one thing to another. So the whole idea with renunciation is really making conscious, wise choices of where we're investing our energy, where are we hemorrhaging our energy, letting go of those things, accumulating energy, and then concentrating it to very specific areas of the mind so that we can awaken higher centers of consciousness. So that really was the purpose of this whole process.
So now you're working with extremely successful athletes and entrepreneurs. Does that carry over? Do you teach them to sort of strip back to make sure that their energy is focused on their task in hand?
Completely. So take an athlete, for example, whether it's a soccer player or a tennis player, whoever it may be. If you're playing at the highest level, there's so many things that are demanding your energy. The press might be talking about you, the fans might be saying something about you, the critics out there. And if you're not careful, your energy could be directed to all of those things. Oh, I can't believe, the Guardian said that about me. I can't believe the Times said that about me. How could they? This is just so not true what they tweeted about me. I never said that. And before you know it, you're engaged in 20 different things or 30 different things that really don't deserve your attention and your energy, when your energy could be redirected and funneled towards what it is you want to accomplish. But if you look at most people, where's our energy going? All over the place. We're like a garden hose that we just swing around like a wild person. Have you ever turned the garden hose on, turned the tap on, and let the garden hose sit on the grass? It's like a snake, right? It's just like it's going all over the place. Nothing gets watered. But if you can actually grab the hose and point it at a plant, the plant gets sufficient energy, sufficient water for it to grow. Energy works the same way too. And that's why learning to focus is so critical and something that I always talk about. Because at the end of the day, if you can't focus, then you can't focus your energy. And if you can't focus your energy, nothing grows. And people's energy is going all over the place and nothing ever manifests in people's lives. And then they wonder why, the whole visualization, law of attraction thing doesn't work. Well, you can't bloody focus. That's why it doesn't work.
Yeah, I love it. So just going from energy, let's move over to focus. Obviously, you've had an extremely successful TEDx talk with focus. You've got a book coming out later next year, and it's all based around focus. Concentrate. For me, what does it mean when you say focus?
So I define focus as my ability to keep my awareness on one thing or one person or whoever I'm engaged with for an extended period of time. So if I can keep my awareness on you and not let it go to the left, to the right, to somewhere else, I'm being focused. So that's how I define being focused. And it's really important, for all the people listening, that to define words, because people use words in today's world just so indiscriminately. I'll give you an example. People say things like, when I walk my dog every evening, that's my meditation. Cooking is my meditation. And then another person is sitting down cross-legged, spine straight, breathing, regulating his breath, eyes closed. That's my meditation. So I'm very confused. What is meditation? Is it walking your dog? Is it cooking? Is it sitting down cross-legged? Is this a podcast or is this an interview or are we jogging right now? This is my jogging, Jordan. This is for me, this is jogging. Is that the right use of the word?
Not at all, no.
Yeah, so people just, say all kinds of crazy stuff. So I think, as we learn about these different things, the first step is defining what these words are. When we define it, it's very clear to our conscious mind, to our subconscious mind, what this word is, how it's being used, and therefore we can now begin to use it in a way that can effectively help us, right? Our subconscious understand how the word is, and now can use it to help create change in our life.
Just talking at 3 areas of the mind, subconscious, conscious, and superconscious. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
So how would you describe those 3 parts of the mind? And also, when we're talking about using words and terminologies, like I'm guessing you feel that it has a big impact if we just do it, like you say,
haphazardly.
Haphazardly, yeah, perfect, yeah.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, so in the case of the meditation, what have you heard people say? Oh, when I walk, that's my meditation.
Yeah, I've heard people use loads of different things as say it's their meditation, yeah.
So what the hell is meditation then? If you use the one word to describe 1,000 different things, what is it? Right? If you actually go and look up, the Oxford or Webster's definition of the word, right? Just go search the word, and it defines to you what a word is. A word is meant to describe one thing or an action, right? Or so to the 3 states of mind, you have the conscious mind, the subconscious, and the superconscious. The conscious mind is the external mind. It's tied to the world around us. It's tied to our 5 senses. When we talk, when we drive, when we interact with the outside world, we're functioning. Awareness, that ball of light, is functioning in the conscious mind. The subconscious mind, you could say, is like a hard drive. It's a memory bank. It's a memory card. It stores every experience we've ever had in our life, whether we're conscious of it or not conscious of it. It's stored in our subconscious. Patterns are created there, habit patterns. The superconscious is your deeply creative, spiritual, intuitive area of the mind. That's where intuition comes from. And again, one thing I should say is that every teacher, every speaker, educator may use words differently, right? So if you're studying with one person, it's important to get them to define the words to you. So I define focus one way, awareness one way, the mind one way. But if you're studying philosophy with another person, they might define it differently. Not saying one is right, one is wrong, but it's just important to understand how that person is using the words so that you can put all the pieces together. So understanding the 3 states of mind is critical, because at any given point in time, you can understand which area of the mind you're functioning in. Not one is better than the other. They just have different attributes. So if you're in your conscious mind, you're very externalized. If you're in your subconscious, you're thinking about your past. Oh, do you remember the time 5 years ago when we went on that holiday to Mallorca? How great was that? You're functioning in the subconscious area of the mind. You're going to your memory bank. If you're doing something highly creative, creating music or art, or you have an intuitive flash insight into something, it's coming from the superconscious area of the mind.
Is there a reach to get to the superconscious? Should we be striving to get to that, or does it not really matter? It's just definitions.
Depending, again, what do you want in life, right? And that's why for me, it's always important to define first the goal. What do you want in life, right? Once you know what you want in life, then you know what tools you want, which area of the mind you need to function in order to get there. People always say things like, oh, it's not the destination, it's all about the journey. You've heard that statement before. I'm like, what the hell? People who say that are people who don't know where the hell they're going. That's why they say they don't. Who cares about the destination?
Yeah.
Imagine your friend called you up this coming weekend and said, hey, Jordan, do you want to go grab a beer? And you say, great, let's do it. And your friend says, okay, I'll see you at 8. And he hangs up. Is it going to be a problem for you?
Yeah, I want to know where it is, yeah.
Yeah, because there's a million bars in London.
Yeah.
Right? So where are you going to be? The destination is important. Mm-hmm. Then the destination defines your journey. Whether you take the tube, you walk, you crawl, whatever it may be, But you need to know the destination, and that helps you define all the other pieces that come after that.
There's a quote from yourself that says, I'm very clear on what I want, and I'm very determined to get there. And I think when I heard that for the first time, a monk saying it, it's like, it was a little bit, it stuck out to me because it's ambitious, it's very driven. And I always felt that they couldn't go together, like those ideologies couldn't go together. I'm wrong.
Okay, driven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm completely wrong, I know, but the idea of ambition and wanting to achieve something just never really. But I mean, I'm guessing the whole goal of being a monk is to achieve stuff and to move towards something.
Yes, because people's understanding of monastic life comes from Hollywood movies. Watching Brad Pitt's 7 Years in Tibet, or David Carradine's Kung Fu, or whatever it may be, that you've seen, and you go like, oh, that's what monks do. They sweep the sidewalks slowly, and they talk in a very slow, quiet voice so that you understand, grasshopper. Like they're not in a hurry to go anywhere. They're just here. And then you see all these people post these dumb, stupid spiritual quotes on social media, like, just be here, be now, be present. That's it. You don't need to be anything else. You don't need to go anywhere. There's no destination. Just be. I mean, like, be what? I mean, what the hell are you talking about? Somehow when it comes to everyday life, people are logical and reasonable. But when it comes to spirituality, all logic and reason are thrown out the door. When you put your shoes on, you put your socks, your shoes, and then you tie your laces. 3 steps. I guess you don't mix those steps up. When you take a shower, you get in the bathroom, I'm assuming, you take your clothes off, you turn the water on, especially if you live in England where it's freezing cold. You want to make sure the water's the right temperature. Then you get wet, you put soap on, you wash the soap off, you dry yourself, you put clothes on, and you leave the bathroom. There's about 8 or 9 steps. Do you ever mix them up?
No.
Just because variety is the spice of life? Why not? Let's just see what happens if I just mix it up today. You don't. You follow the process. The process gets you to the end goal, which is to feel clean. So why is it when it comes to spirituality, all reason goes out? You don't need a goal. You don't need a destination. There's no path. Just be here and be now. Be present.
So for yourself, the idea of having a purpose or an end goal, that's, I'm guessing, the most crucial step to achieving something. I mean, without a goal, obviously, we don't have anything in sight anyway to achieve, but...
My guru had a beautiful saying to encapsulate this. He said, there's nothing more important in life than knowing who you are, the path that you're on, and its final end. Right? Who are you? What path are you on? And where are you going? Even when you make a meal, Jordan, you're inviting your friends over and say, like, hey, guys, come over. I'm going to cook you dinner this weekend, this Saturday. Do you not have a plan, a goal in mind? Like, what am I going to cook? Is it spaghetti? Is it maybe let's have curry and a beer? Okay, what do I need to make curry? Maybe I have to go to the Indian store, buy some spices. We need to have a goal in order to know what food to cook. You go to the bar to meet your friend, you say to the bartender, I want a beer. He goes, that's awesome. I'm glad you know that. What kind of beer would you like? Just saying I want a beer is not enough because there's 50 taps there. How does he know what kind of beer you want? Is it a light? Is it something strong? Is it home brewed? Is it Irish? Is it Scottish? Italian, German, Dutch? Can we get a little bit more specific? And you are just at the bar having a beer. So why is it when it comes to life and spirituality, all of a sudden you think you don't need to be specific, you don't need a goal, you don't need anything?
It's more important. Like, it's a lot more important, yeah.
Just for a pint, right? First of all, I've been to bars in England. You need a path to get to the bar because it's crowded, right? So you need to weave your way through all those bodies, right? And have beer not spill on you to get to the bar. And then when you get to the bar, you need clarity of what it is you want. And you may have all of 10 seconds to tell the guy, or 5 seconds, before he moves on to somebody else. And if you're sitting there going, I'm not sure, he's going to go tend to somebody else. He's not going to hang around and watch you think what beer you want. And
So
then, you know, it's so bizarre, you know, when it comes to everyday life, people are very understand the need to be clear and specific about their goal. But then when it comes to spirituality, it's just like, you know, just be present, be mindful. That's good enough.
So when you have entrepreneurs come in and athletes come in, how much of the issue is that they don't have the end goal in sight, and how much is it down to the focus and clearing out the things they don't need to achieve those goals?
The people that I work with are extremely successful. Every one of them are extremely clear what their goal is and what it is they want. What they are looking from me is having a better understanding of the mind so that they can leverage it to get to where they are. So they've been trained in the particular sport that they are in, the particular business that they're running. They know it inside out. But what they haven't been trained in is in the mind. Because nowhere in their journey to where they are today has anyone sat them down and taught them the inner workings of the mind. How does the mind work? How do you learn to harness it? How do you learn to control it? How do you learn to focus it? Understanding the different states of mind. How do they impact your day-to-day decision making and things like that? So that's what they want to learn from me. And you know, I always say to people, you know, we have the most powerful tool in the world sitting in our heads, yet we have no manual for it. No one teaches us how to use it. You have cameras, right?
Yep.
Lighting, microphone, and then you have people that edit the video, probably on Final Cut Pro. So they need to learn the software. The better they understand Final Cut, the more they can do with it. The less they understand it, the less they can do with it. You know, you could still edit the thing on iMovie. The end product's not going to be that great as using Final Cut or maybe Premiere, right? So the better you understand something, the more you can leverage it and do something with it. So the same way with the mind, we don't understand the mind. So how then do we leverage the mind to create what we want to create? So these athletes and entrepreneurs now starting to begin to realize that, oh my gosh, I have this amazing tool in my head, which I've used to be successful at what I do. But imagine if I understood it better, I could leverage it more and be even more successful at what I do.
So, I mean, the awareness of that is so simple, like the idea that we've got this powerful tool. I'm guessing having the awareness is one of the first steps. And it sounds so silly. We all know we've got a brain, but the idea that they are so capable. But what's the first thing that you find yourself teaching people, and the process you take people down when it comes to training the mind and learning the mind?
It's about understanding how the mind works. So even before learning to focus, we need to understand the mechanics of the mind, because if we don't understand the mechanics of the mind, it's going to be very hard to focus it. Similar like a camera, right? If you have a DSLR camera and you don't understand how to control aperture or shutter speed or, you know, ISO and all these things, you still take a photo, it may not be in focus. But before you can even focus the camera, it's good to understand some of these basic settings in order to create a photo that you want to create. So understanding the mind is the first step, then learning to focus. And like you said, with the mind, no one teaches us, you know, having that consciousness that, oh, we have this amazing tool that we haven't learned to use. But the same thing goes with focus, right? I mean, when we're growing up, people tell us, you know, Jordan, can you just focus on eating your food? And Jordan, can you concentrate on doing your homework? But no one teaches us how to do it. They tell us to do it, but they don't teach us how to do it. I hear parents saying to kids all the time, you know, can you just focus for a second? I'm like, awesome. Want to show me how to do it? But there's just so many things, just general life things that we are never taught. We have a body. All of us have a body. And some of us are blessed with a fully capable body. And yet we never get taught how it works or how to look after it, how to feed it and how to care for it. It's fascinating, isn't it? You go through years of school learning God knows what, and you think the basic things they would teach you is about the mind, the body. It'd be nice if someone taught me in school what to eat, how to exercise my body, how to make it strong, understand my mind, how to focus it, how to deal with problems I have.
We live in a society where people want that answer. How can I be rich? How can I be successful? Give me the one message. And the message is put a lot of time into it, and it's not a quick thing. It's just not an easy thing.
And a lot of people sell that, right? You see these ads sometimes pop up on YouTube where there's these guys, standing in front of these big mansions and fancy cars. I'll show you how to be rich. They show you this pile of books. I've read all these books. I've taken the key pieces from these books. I'll share them with you. Like, really? You think that's enough?
Yes, it's most definitely not. Yeah.
And where do we start? For people who are listening, we start by figuring out what the hell we want. That's where you start. Forget about learning to meditate, learning to do this. What simple question, what do you want in life? And that answer should not be happiness, because happiness should never be pursued. Happiness is a byproduct of living a certain type of lifestyle. Jordan goes out on Saturday to have beer with his friends. The byproduct of that is happiness. Perhaps, I don't know, I'm assuming.
I'm not much of a drinker, but yeah.
But you get the point, right?
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. So when you can define a lifestyle where the byproduct of the lifestyle results in the feeling of happiness, that's the key, right? So we need to figure out what it is we want in life. And that's the question that needs to be answered, because once you can answer that question, you can start working backwards. What's the path to get there? What are the tools I need? What are the practices that I need to be doing in order to get there? What books do I need to read to get there? If I want to be a great landscaper or botanist, I'm not going to read a book on how to fix cars. I don't need that book.
Is it important to get a stronger and more specific and almost belief in what you want to achieve and what it is that you want to do?
Specificity is so important, right? Again, taking the simple drinking analogy, I'm sorry.
No.
If I went up to a bar, in a pub, and I can't just say I want beer. The same way if I go to a clothing store and a salesperson comes up to me and says, "Oh, welcome to our store," and I say, "I'm looking for clothes," and she might say, "Well, you've come to the right place. What kind of clothes are you looking for?" Something to cover my body. Those are the type we have here. That's great. You found the right store. Do you want to cover the top part of your body, the bottom part of your body? Do you want it to be visible to people, not visible to people? Do you want these clothes to be something you wear when it's hot, or in the middle of winter, or maybe in spring or fall? I mean, if you're not specific, and it's a 5-story building selling clothes, they can't. But if you walk in there and you say, "I'm looking for exercise shorts," yep, go up these 2 escalators to the 3rd floor. As soon as you get off the escalator, turn left to go all the way to the back wall, turn right, it's on the far corner. When you're specific, people can point you in the right direction. When you're not, who can guide you? But no one can guide you if you don't know what you want. And what you want cannot just be vague statements like, I want to be happy. I want to live an amazing life. What does that mean?
It's really impactful the way you're saying it, because we're talking about clothes, a beer, but life decisions and what purpose and what you want to achieve in life is so important, and it's everything. It really is everything, and it's like we don't consider that decision as much as we do, like ordering a beer. We go through the processes, but a lot of people who want something in life, like you say, if we say something like, I want to be happy, it's almost like saying I want my thirst quenched, maybe not even as specific as that, in regards to the beer. So it's not going to help whatsoever.
And your life is ticking away. It's not like you have all the time in the world. You don't.
So that's another quote I wanted to life is finite. That's something I've heard you say before. Life is finite.
People always say life is short. It's not short. When you're stuck in traffic for 3 hours, does it feel like it's short? Have you ever been in a plane, got in a plane, they've closed the door, they're just about to pull away from the gate, and then the pilot goes on, "Oh, ladies and gentlemen, we just got a message from the control tower. There's some problems in the runway, and we're going to be delayed for 45 minutes. And everybody's like, oh, I have 45 minutes. I can't believe this is happening. What kind of nonsense is this? It's 45 minutes. That felt like a really long time. So at that point, you can't really say life is short because that 45 minutes seems like eternity. So life is not short, it's finite. And what I mean by finite is there's a clear, definitive end to it. We just don't know when that end is. As soon as you're born, someone just started a stopwatch, like a timer started and started counting down. We just don't know what that number is. It could be a year. Babies die all the time. It could be 90 years. So you better get to finding out what the hell it is you want in life and be clear about it because your time's running out. And the longer you wait, the less clarity you have in life, the less clarity you have in life, the less you get out of life because you don't know what the hell it is you want. You just walk around doing this, doing that, having all kinds of random experiences. Some are good, some are not good. And then you make proclamations like, well, this is life. No, that's not life. This is some kind of random thing that you chose to live. Get clear. You don't go to a store and just grab any dress, put it on and leave. You go to the changing room, you put it on yourself, see how it looks, fits well, shows my belly too much. I'll try another one. I don't like this color on me, doesn't go with my skin. I prefer that color. And that's where, one thing I'm just in my book, I mentioned quite a bit is that people get so used to repeating sayings that they hear all the time. Life is all about a journey. It's about having experiences. Well, you can choose to have experiences you want to have or experiences you don't want to have. And I'd rather not have experiences I don't want to have. If I was clear about what I want in my life, then my experiences are now very much aligned with my goals. But that's not to say that I won't have experiences that are unpleasant. I do, but they're very much more minimal than as opposed to not having a goal and having random experiences in my life, which I don't want.
So, I mean, you've got clear defined goals and a clear defined target or goal, however you want to describe it. Is it sad for you to see other people without that? Like, is it something that you feel that people need, like really drastically need in their lives?
I think they do, because if they had that clarity, it would bring greater meaning to their life. People need a sense of purpose. And if people don't have a sense of purpose, they feel lost, they feel depressed, they feel unwanted, unneeded, they're not contributing. Kids feel the same way too, right? When kids don't have a purpose or something greater need to do something, then they don't feel any importance. Then where do you channel all that energy? Energy is so powerful, right? And energy has the ability to create things. So if you don't have a point of focus for the energy to flow, then it's going to go all over the place. Just take water coming down from a mountain. If it was spreading all over the mountain, that's one thing. But if you could channel all that water down a river or a river, you could harness that water, generate electricity, use that for, irrigation, all kinds of things. Energy is the same way. When you have a central purpose, it's almost like you're channeling all that energy to one place. Then it's easier to manifest things, to create things that you want. As a result, people feel happier, more fulfilled. But when you don't have that, then it's just going all over the place. Sometimes it's invested in things and people that we don't like, that are not aligned with us, which results in experiences that are unpleasant. And it just creates complication. We all want a sense of purpose, a sense of meaning, a sense of belonging to something.
Manifestation, something you just mentioned there. Like, how would you implement manifestation into your life?
There's a great book that I absolutely love, is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
I've heard of the book, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was written almost 100 years ago. What a great book, and one of the key themes he talks about in that book is definiteness of purpose, being crystal clear of what it is you want. And that's the starting point. Law of attraction is something people love, right? Vision boards and, doing all that kind of stuff. I'm going to attract it into my life. You know, the universe is going to get together to manifest this for me. Really? You know, but again, no clarity in what it is you want to manifest. What is it you want? I want a man in my life. Okay. What type of man? One who beats you, one who loves you, one who cooks for you, you know, one who will have wonderful conversations with you. You have to get specific, right? Because even before you can start to manifest anything, if you don't have clarity around what it is you want to manifest, you can't. So even when I work with athletes or business people, you know, with an athlete, it's like, what specifically do you want to achieve? You know, do you want the golden boot? Do you want the Champions League? You know, do you want the Wimbledon trophy? What is it you want? Once you have that clarity, then you know where to channel all your energy. You know what to visualize in your head. What you can start to do the processes that need to be done in order to create that. Everything manifests in the mental plane first before it manifests in the physical plane. You think about it, you have an idea, you have a podcast. It started with an idea in your head. Did it not?
Yep.
You were having a beer in the pub, just kidding. And I'm going to start a podcast, right? And then you go like, okay, how do I do it? What do I need to do? Do I need a room? Do I need a camera? Do I need a mic? What should I call it? You know, all that stuff, but it starts in your head. So you need to have that clarity of that vision in your head, a very, very specific vision, clear vision, before you can even begin the process of manifesting it. And again, with you, you know, with your podcast, if you didn't have clarity around what it is you wanted, how would you know what type of interviews to conduct? You could be talking about finance, you could be talking about, you know, guns and ammo, horses, podcast on horses. Not your thing, perhaps?
Not mine, no.
But the more specific you are, the easier it is to manifest something.
100%. For me and my brothers, like, how the more laser focused we got on what that end goal was, and the stronger and stronger it's become, it's like it all falls into place somehow. Like it all starts to happen. It's really easy to wake up each day and do something, because I know if it's towards this task, it's adding towards getting there. It's really clear to know this is detrimental, this is positive, this is working against it, this is working towards it.
The good thing is, right, like I said, once you know what you want, you know what you don't want. Right. So if I came and I said to you, hey, I'd really like to spend the show today talking about plants and trees and maybe horses, which I don't know anything about, you'd go like,
yeah,
it may not be a fit. But the clarity of knowing what you want allows you to know what you don't want. And that's why we need to spend time figuring out what it is we want in life. We need to dedicate that.
Something I wanted to speak about was like the way we're talking about the mind and how powerful it is. Something that really struck me was that at the monastery you was taught how to focus, taught these simple things: focus, eat. But one of the ones that really was quite a strange one to me was the sleep. Taught how to sleep, and you spoke about how you were taught how to sleep, but also consciously sleeping. It's just something that's really interesting. We spoke about it a few times. It's something I practice something, and I don't know if you would define it as this, but I used to practice lucid dreaming, and for me that was I tried to practice the skill of basketball in my lucid dreams. Wasn't very successful at it, but I did manage to lucid dream. But just talk us through, like, one, why you needed to learn how to sleep, but also sort of the extent that the mind could take those lessons and teachings.
It's the same way, like you would say, you know, if you had a child, you would teach your child how to walk, how to talk, how to read, how to write, how to eat, how to, you know, aim the spoon at your mouth and not your eyeball. That'd be very helpful, right? And so why would sleep be any different? You train them how to wash their hair, keep their nails clean, how to wash their hands, how to take a shower, and how to go to the bathroom and clean up after themselves. Sleep is part of life. We do it every day. We can't exist without it. So why wouldn't we be taught how to go to sleep? Again, a very interesting concept. I never thought about it. When I was a kid, my mom that's like, okay, go to sleep. It's 8 o'clock. I'm like, okay, I'll go try. That's what we get told to do. Eat your food. Focus, sleep. We get yelled at these military commands, but no one teaches us how to do it. And when I went to the monastery, my guru said, like, oh, you need to learn how to go to sleep. I'm like, what an interesting concept. I'd like to learn how to go to sleep. And the mind can learn. The mind can learn anything, right? And it's a matter of understanding the process and then practicing over and over and over again. I would travel with my guru, and sometimes the trips would be long. We'd go to Europe for we lived in Hawaii, but we'd go to Europe for like 3 weeks or 4 weeks. He'd be traveling and speaking, and I'd be traveling with him. He'd get on a plane, put everything away, belt up, and before the plane even took off, he'd be dead asleep. I'm like, really, dude? I'd be awake the whole flight. I'd get off the plane like 12 hours later, jet lagged, red eyed, and he'd be looking fresh as a daisy. Just because he knew how to put himself to sleep. And then, I would ask him to teach me so I could go to sleep. And now that's something I do. When I travel, I get on the plane, I do the same thing. I put everything away, I belt up, and my goal is to fall asleep before the plane takes off. But what a great thing if you could just put yourself to sleep and put yourself to good sleep, and making sure that you had good dreams and you're not affected by nightmares, and protect yourself at sleep. Well, you have that window to rest so that when you wake up in the morning, you can be fresh and execute your day. So it's so important to learn how to do that.
100%. I mean, sleep is super important. Entrepreneurs, athletes especially. It's something that's always like, we've dived into sleep a little bit and looked at sleep, and again, is just the power of the mind as well, and what it's doing in those hours that it is actually sleeping, and going through all those processes subconsciously. It's pretty interesting to me.
Yeah, and a lot of people have unresolved issues in their subconscious, so they never ever get restful sleep. They're always tossing and turning. They're having nightmares constantly because they just have all these burdensome things in their subconscious that's just bothering them through the sleep. So when they wake up in the morning, they're never fully rested. And also the space, sleeping is one thing, the actual process of sleeping, your physical body sleeping, but where are you sleeping? Your bedroom, is it clean? Is it neat? What are you doing before sleep? Are you on the internet? Are you watching Rambo 7? Stallone blowing up shit before you go to sleep? What do you think you'll be dreaming about when you go to sleep? Right? And like parents come up to me and go like, oh, my child has nightmares all the time. Like, what do you think it is? And go like, what does your child do before she goes to sleep? Oh, she's always reading Harry Potter. And I'm like, well, do you think she might be dreaming of witches and sorcerers and demons when she's sleeping?
Yeah.
Try watching Nightmare on Elm Street every night before you go to sleep for a week and see what your dreams are like. Probably not great, right? And the space that you're in, is your bedroom clean? Is it tidy? Is it neat? Is it cluttered? All that affects how you sleep as well. So that was a lot of the training in the monastery, right? It's just teaching you these basic things about life, about eating properly and learning to focus and understanding your mind, understanding your body, understanding how to go to sleep, understanding how to wake up in the morning. People wake up in the morning and start stroking their phone, maybe you could stroke your wife, hug your daughter, your child, but this is what they do,
It's so
true. And then that forms the early impressions in their mind, right? As soon as you wake up, that's what just goes in your mind.
So with that is the idea of, let's say I want to be CEO of a specific company, that's my goal. Is there an issue with being fixated on such a specific goal and the idea that maybe you don't achieve it, or is there an issue with that, getting sort of emotionally tied to that?
I think one needs to be also very realistic with one's capability, right? And how much work we're willing to do. If I said my goal is to climb Everest, and I'm so not fit right now, and I don't do anything about it, then I may not get there. So I think it's okay to have big, audacious goals and have that very clear in your mind. When I left the monastery, 12 and a half years ago, I had nothing. I left with $1,000 cash they gave me and a MacBook Pro and my robes. And that's all I had, my beads and my monastic earrings. That's what I had. And I had a goal to create a place that would be a spiritual sanctuary. I had a botanical garden. That was 12 years ago. And, now I'm creating that. When I shared it with a few people, they go like, yeah, you might be able to pull it off, maybe. I don't know. That seems pretty big. How are you going to do it? I'm not sure. I'm going to figure it out. But I had a clear vision of what it is I wanted. And then I went for it. But I was willing to put in the hard work. But I think the clarity is important. And I don't think we should be afraid of dreaming big. But then once we have the clarity about what it is we want and being very specific of what it is, then we really need to outline the steps to get there and find the right people that can help us get there. Getting the right advice, getting the right group of people around you, the right surroundings. That is all super critical.
I'm so happy to hear you talk about it in such a way as well, because usually the people are previous in motivation. It's about go get it, don't quit. It's like you said, like a bit of the cheesier side of the motivational world, and it's nice to hear practical implementations from yourself about how it's okay to be this way, and this is how we should think about it. So for yourself, with the ambition or the goals that you've set, have you got goals in mind right now that you're working towards?
For sure, there are some larger goals and then obviously smaller goals along the way. So in our project here in Costa Rica, we have 33 acres and we're creating a botanical garden and a spiritual sanctuary and a retreat center. So that's a big project. We've planted a few thousand trees already. We've created part of the gardens, and we're going to start construction this week on some of the pieces of the project. So we have a 50-year plan for the project, and we have a 300-year plan for the project. So that's in the extended vision, right? So the 50 years, I'm 47, so I hope to live up to 96. That's my goal. And so that'll take me for the next 50 years. But what happens to the project after my wife and I are dead and gone? How does it continue to live? How does it continue to thrive and fulfill its vision and mission? Hence the 300-year plan. And when you think long-term like that, you make very, very different decisions than you would if I was just thinking 1 year or 2 years. Now, obviously, having that bigger picture, clarity of what that picture is, what type of trees are we going to plant, what does the garden do, what is the purpose of the garden, So we have very, very specific ideas for the garden. The entire garden is broken up into 7 smaller gardens. Each garden represents an area of the mind. The first garden represents the subconscious. The second garden represents how to deal with unresolved stuff in the subconscious. The third garden represents willpower. The fourth garden represents intuition. They're all progressively leading you to higher states of mind. So rather than just saying, we're going to build gardens, chuck a bunch of trees on there, and it's just going to look pretty for people to enjoy, the gardens are very, very specific. Each garden has a color theme. So the first garden is red. So we planted red flowering trees so that people come, and that's specific to that particular area of the mind, which in the inner world, so the astral world, is red in color. So we're very, very specific in how we're doing, which makes decision-making very easy. So in the first garden, do we put a purple flowering tree? Nah, not so much. We'll put a red flowering tree. We know what to do now. And So even though we have a 50-year plan, now it's coming back about what are we trying to achieve in the next 1 month, in the next 3 months, in the 6 months, in the next 1 year. So now we have smaller goals because it's all those small steps that lead to the big step. There's an old monastic saying that goes, a temple made out of bricks is built one brick at a time. So you put one brick, one brick, one brick, and 20 years later, you have this giant temple made out of bricks, but it's built one brick at a time. So one of our goals now is to complete this project, and then also think through of the other goals of how do we create it so that it lasts 50 years to last 300 years. What are the things we need to think about? Climate change, financially, how do we endow it so that it's financially secure during those times? Who would be the trustees of this project? How would they stick to the guiding principles, to the core values of the project? All that kind of stuff.
Wow. So in your mind, when will the garden be finished?
I think we want to make it open to public in the next couple of years, probably the next 2 to 2.5 years. I think in the next 3 years, the goal is to finish one section of the garden and have that open to public, and then probably in the next 6 to 7 years to finish the rest of it. Working with trees and nature is a little bit unpredictable because you plant a tree, it's doing really well, and then one day there's a storm, the tree falls down, and you go like, okay, I'm back to square one.
It sounds amazing. It sounds amazing. When it is open to public, I'd love to come. So what will it be? Like a sanctuary, to a spiritual? Like how would you describe it?
Yeah, it's a spiritual sanctuary. The whole idea, the purpose behind it is to allow people, to empower people with tools that they can take back, implement in their life to create sustainable change. So the same way that I'm doing with my app and courses, the idea is that I'm a big believer in helping people define their goals in life, as we talked about, the path to get there, and then giving people tools and teaching people how to use the tools, because once they know how to use the tools, they're no longer dependent on me. See, the marketing model for inspirational and motivational speakers is to never solve the problem. Let me inspire you, let me motivate you, let me get the crowd of 200 people standing up, jumping up and down and screaming, hugging each other and, swaying and saying like, this is amazing. Then they'll buy your products, go home, do it for a couple of months, inevitably fail because now the inspiration's gone. And then they'll come back for the second round of courses, which you can sell them with an additional add-on and bonus that you can buy for $59.99. Mm-hmm. And then you just keep repeating the process. Yeah. And it never ends. It becomes a drug, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to see you again.
Yeah.
And that's how my guru taught me, right? He gave me a tool, taught me how to use it. And when I went back to him, which I did many times with problems, the first thing he would ask me is, are you implementing the tools I gave you? My answer would be no. I would get up from the chair and I would leave. What is there to talk about? Nothing. He'd given me the tool. I wasn't using it. What do I want from him? But what he passed away. He's been dead for 19 years. But what a gift he's given me. All the tools that he's given me, I can now stand on my own 2 feet, lean on my own spine, and use it to create the life I want to create. What a blessing. If I depended on his motivation and inspiration, I couldn't function today.
I mean, this is something that really got me personally and made me think about the way we deliver our content and the way, after hearing, I don't want people coming back. I really do want to inspire people to make actual change. And I hope that it's made me really sort of think about how we're delivering this content and stuff. But so thank you for that. I appreciate it a lot.
I'll share with you an advice someone gave me who runs a very successful learning program. And he said to me, you really have to care about your audience. And every time you deliver something to your audience, you have to ask yourself, is this something that they need? Is it something that would create impact in their life? If it is, then deliver it. If it's not, then you're not really serving them. And the right way to approach it is in a process, in the perspective of, I am here to serve, I'm here to help you. And is what I'm giving you truly helping you or not? And it's not, then why am I wasting your time and my time?
So where's the best place that people can find resources? Is there resources specifically to the garden as well? Like, can we get updates on that as well, or?
Yeah, you can. So in terms of learning resources, you can go to my website, which is dandapani.org. And I also have an app which is iOS and Android. There's a free app which you can download. There's a daily quotes. There's a lot of audio and video talks on there that you can listen to for free. And there's also a journal in there, which you can use for free as well on the app, which I encourage people to do. It helps you to kind of create rituals in your life, a morning and evening journal. Very, very simple. Journal that I focus on a few very specific things that probably would take you 3 minutes to do in the morning. So, but it's a good way that you can track digitally how you're doing these practices. And then I have about 3 courses on the app as well, which people can buy. In terms of the gardens, they can go to a website called sivaashram.org. I'll send it to you. You can put it in the description.
Yeah, definitely.
And you can read all about the project over there. And people can also be part of it. People can sponsor a tree. One of the goals of the project that we have here in Costa Rica is to get people to care about the environment. And in order to, because I mean, what's the point of doing all of this if we don't have a planet to live on, right? And the idea here is that if I can get you connected to a plant, to a tree, and that becomes the Mulligan family tree, then you'll start to care for it. And the whole idea is that, you can sponsor a tree for $20 or $30 or whatever it may be, that becomes your family tree. All the trees on our property have a number on it. We have an app. So one day when people walk through the gardens, they enter the number into the app. It pulls out all the information about the tree. It shows about when it was planted, the timeline, who sponsored it. So you can come here one day with your brothers, take a photo with this tree, and hopefully, 50 years from now, your grandkids can come here with you and take a photo with the same tree. Now, in order for your great grandkids to have that same experience, they need to understand they need to care for the tree. And if they don't care for the tree, it'll die, and they won't get to do it 100 years from now. So the 300-year plan is to really help people think, if I want this thing to be around for another 100 years, 200 years, I need to really start thinking differently. So if I can get with the idea, so we've had people from all around the world sponsor trees, and the idea is to get them to think, this is something I need to care for. And it's not like, giving $20 to look after a kid in Africa, there's that kind of stuff. You have to understand that you have to perpetually care for something or it's going to die, like a child or a tree.
I love it. I just want to finish off with this one thing that, again, we're talking about conservation right now of the planet. Just your opinion. I've heard you very eloquently describe how fortunate we are to have planet Earth. And I'd just love to hear your thoughts on it and what we should be doing.
I mean, you look at the few people that are investing billions into space travel, all right? I'm no astronaut or space person, but in my simple understanding, there's no other planet like Earth anywhere close by. Is that a fair statement to make?
Yeah, definitely a fair statement, yeah.
Right? Okay. So why the hell are we pissing on what we have to go to somewhere else that's just a pile of rocks with no oxygen, no water, nothing? We have been given something so beautiful. We have water, we have oceans, we have waterfalls, we have rainbows, we have aurora borealis, we have animals, we have fish, we have insects and butterflies, possibly unicorns maybe out there somewhere. We have humans, we have plants, trees. We're the most amazing planet in the known galaxy. If we can't care for what we have right now, how could we care for what we discover? You can't even look after what you have, and you think you're going to go somewhere and create another life. People say that the future of humanity is in space. No, that's the height of ignorance. You have something so beautiful right here. Why don't we care for it? Moon doesn't look anything like Earth. Mars doesn't look anything like Earth. Why would you want to go create a space station and grow plants in it to try and create something that doesn't even remotely compare to what we have here today? That is the height of ignorance. And one thing I say to people at my events that I do in person, I say, let me ask you this. Do you have kids?
I do, yeah. I have one child, yeah.
Okay. Do you love your child?
I do, yeah.
And it's a boy, girl?
Boy.
So if your son had a son, so your grandson, would you love him?
Yes, yeah.
And if your grandson had a child and you were fortunate enough to see your great-granddaughter, do you think you'd love her?
Yes.
And just say for some miraculous reason, you're so blessed to see your great-great-grandchild, would you be happy?
Yes, yeah.
So now let me ask you, what are you doing to ensure that your great-great-grandchild has a planet to live on?
Mm-hmm.
And for most people, the answer is nothing. So if you love that unborn great-grandchild so much, you think it would be so great to hug this ankle biter, why wouldn't you do something now to ensure that they have a beautiful space to live in? And that's hence goes back to the 300-year plan, right? It's to push the horizon to get people to think that way. We have something so amazing here. We don't need to go to space. I'm not against learning about space and space exploration and all that. I think that's great, but it shouldn't be a priority over caring for our planet.
So I know I said this was the last point, but this will be the last one. Is so with the way you think for life, with 300 years in mind, it's not something I'd consider personally. Do you feel that that's the way people should be thinking, especially about their goals and ambitions? Should we be thinking about the generations to come and how we impact them, not just where we're at right now?
I don't think everybody needs to have a 300-year plan or goal. I think a 50-year plan is good. How old are you?
I am 28, I think, 28, 29.
If you could pick a number that you died at, what would it be?
Anything over 85, I'd be happy, yeah.
So you should, at the very minimum, create a 50 or 60-year plan, right, for your life. Because now that you have the end vision, you know how to work backwards, you know where you're headed to it. So I think at the very minimum, people should have that. But everyone should ask themselves, do I care about my kids? Do I love them? And would I love my grandkids? And would I love my great-grandkids? And if I do, if the answer is yes, then the next question is, what am I doing to contribute to that? And now, not look, everybody's going to go build a botanical garden or create this or that, but you can volunteer. You can give your time. You can give your energy, your mental, your intellect, and support organizations that are out there that are doing things to impact the world. Volunteer. Reach out to this organization and say, I'd love to volunteer 10 hours of my time every month. I'll do anything. I'll reply to emails. You want me to research? You want me to cut and paste things into cells into a spreadsheet? I'll do that. How can I support? How can I serve? Because then that, I'm contributing towards this organization, which is making a difference on where we're living. Stop thinking about yourself. Stop taking bloody selfies. Point the camera the other way. Start looking around and see how you can do what you can do to make the world a better place for the people that you love. And unless we attach it to someone that we care about, there's no incentive to do anything, really. And that's the thing, right? The icebergs are melting thousands of miles away, so we don't see it. If there's a lion prowling around in the Kalahari, I don't care. But if there's a lion prowling around in my front yard, I'm going to start doing something about it. We don't see the problems happening in front of us, so no one cares. But it is going to be coming to our front door, and at that point, it could be too late. So
it's definitely something that I want to have an effect on as well. So definitely something that Mulligan Brothers we've spoken about, documentaries and film revolving around looking after the planet. I think it's a wonderful note to end on as well. Leave that in people's minds. Dandapani, thank you so much for your time. It is so appreciated, and hopefully when the world opens up and the spiritual garden's done, I'd love to come and have a look at it and maybe sponsor some trees and stuff. It would be amazing.
That would be wonderful. And you can come back with your great grandkids and take a selfie with the tree then.
Love it. Everything's going to be linked down below as well in the show notes. So if anyone wants to see anything, we'll put it all down below and people can see it there.
For me, the perspective of Dandapani being a monk at the monastery for over 10 years and how he has got an ambition, a goal, a drive to achieve stuff now really solidifies the idea that we are on the right path. Once you have a goal, an idea, a purpose in your mind that you want to achieve, it becomes so much easier to make decisions. It becomes so much easier to make calls and eliminations in your life and eliminate things that you don't need and choose up things that you do need. It becomes right. But one worry that I always had is that it wasn't aligning spiritually with me. The idea of ambition might not work with the idea of happiness. Although I felt amazingly happy, it's just something that always I questioned. And hearing someone like Dandapani go over himself and how he has ambition and that it is okay makes me feel so much better. The links are down below for his courses on focus and practices and how to implement them. It's all down below. The websites are down below. But also there is a link down below for Mulliganbrothers.com where you can buy the t-shirts that do help support this company, the projects that we do, the mini documentaries that we do. All revenue from t-shirt sales goes straight back into projects that help inspire change. So thank you. Thank you for the support. Thank you to everyone who's bought a t-shirt, who watches these videos, who's subscribed, who goes to show people like Dandapani love, who follows us on Instagram at Jordan Mulligan Brother. But thank you so much to you guys. Without you and our team that's around us right now, this isn't possible. And it is having an impact, and I can't thank you enough.